The gun pressed against Naomi McFly's temple was cold, but the man holding it had eyes colder still. "Sign it," he said in accented English, sliding a marriage certificate across the mahogany table with his free hand. "Or your brother dies tonight." Hey, beautiful souls, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having an incredible day wherever you're watching from. Drop your city in the comments below. I absolutely love seeing where my amazing viewers are tuning in from. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that subscribe button because, trust me, you do not want to miss how this story unfolds. Now, where was I? Oh, yes. Naomi McFly was about to become a bride, but this wasn't the fairy tale she'd imagined as a little girl in Detroit. The man with the gun was named Jin Corleone, and he was beautiful in the way a blade is beautiful, sharp, gleaming, and designed to cut. His black suit probably cost more than her nursing school tuition. His jaw was carved from stone, his dark hair swept back to reveal a face that belonged on magazine covers, not in underground poker rooms that smelled of cigar smoke and desperation. But it was his eyes that terrified her most. Not because they were cruel. She'd seen cruel before, growing up where she did. No. Jin Corleone's eyes were empty, like something vital had been carved out of him long ago, leaving only cold calculation behind. "My brother didn't know the game was rigged," Naomi said, proud that her voice didn't shake. Her hands, however, betrayed her, trembling as they gripped the edge of the table. "He's just a kid, 22 years old. He didn't know he was gambling with the Korean Mafia." "Ignorance isn't currency in my world, Ms. McFly." Jin lowered the gun, but didn't holster it. "Your brother borrowed $200,000 from my father's organization. He lost it all. In my culture, debts are paid in blood or—" He gestured to the marriage certificate. "In other arrangements." "Why me?" Naomi's mind raced, trying to find an angle, any angle. She was a nursing student, for God's sake. She worked double shifts at Detroit General, ate ramen 4 nights a week, and her biggest criminal offense was overdue library books. "If you want money, I don't have it. If you want—" "My father made a promise to his dying friend, a black American soldier who saved his life during a business trip to Chicago 15 years ago." Jin's expression didn't change, but something flickered behind those dead eyes, something that might have been pain. "That soldier was your father, Marcus McFly. My father swore that if your family ever needed protection, we would provide it. When your brother's debt came across my desk, my father saw an opportunity." Naomi's breath caught. Her father had died when she was 12, killed in a drive-by that was meant for someone else. Her mother had mentioned a Korean businessman at the funeral, someone her father had saved, but Naomi had been too young, too devastated to pay attention. "So this is protection?" She gestured at the gun still in his hand. "This is survival." Jin moved closer, and Naomi caught his scent. Expensive cologne mixed with something darker, something like gunpowder and secrets. "You marry me. Your brother's debt is forgiven. You live in my compound in Seoul, safe from the people who want to hurt you for what your brother did. And when enough time passes, we divorce quietly. You walk away with enough money to finish medical school anywhere in the world. And if I refuse?" Jin's expression finally changed. A ghost of something that might have been regret crossed his face. "Then I fulfill my actual duty as the Corleone family's enforcer. Your brother disappears, and you—" He paused. "You spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder, wondering when someone will come to collect what he owed." Naomi's mind flashed to her brother Marcus. No, she wouldn't think of him by that name anymore. To Devon, Goofy, reckless Devon who'd gotten mixed up with the wrong people trying to pay for their mother's cancer treatments. Devon, who'd called her 3 days ago, sobbing, saying he'd messed up bad, real bad, and men with guns were looking for him. She looked at the marriage certificate, at Gin Corleone's elegant signature already in place, at the blank line waiting for hers. 1 year, Gin said. That's all I need. My father wants me married to fulfill traditional expectations. You want your brother alive. We both get what we need. And what happens during that year? Naomi asked, hating how small her voice sounded. For the first time, Gin Corleone smiled. It was a terrible smile, beautiful and broken all at once. That, Ms. McFly, depends entirely on whether you can survive in a world where everyone wants me dead. He placed a pen on the marriage certificate. The clock on the wall ticked like a countdown, and Naomi McFly picked up the pen, not knowing that the moment she signed her name, she wouldn't just be saving her brother's life. She'd be stepping into a war between Mafia families where the most dangerous thing of all would be falling in love with the man who was supposed to remain a stranger. But would signing that paper save her brother, or seal all their fates? The private jet to Seoul was more luxurious than Naomi's entire apartment building, but luxury meant nothing when you were essentially a hostage at 30,000 feet. Gin sat across from her, working on a laptop, his fingers moving with the precision of a surgeon or an assassin. He'd removed his suit jacket, and Naomi could see the shoulder holster, the gun resting against his ribs like a sleeping pet. "Tell me about yourself," he said without looking up. "Why?" "You already bought me." Now he looked up, and something sharp flashed in those empty eyes. "I didn't buy you, Ms. McFly. I offered you a transaction. There's a difference." "Is there?" Naomi crossed her arms, the gold wedding band on her finger, placed there an hour ago in a courthouse ceremony with no guests, no photos, no joy, feeling like a shackle. "Because from where I'm sitting, this feels a lot like ownership." Gin closed his laptop slowly. "You want honesty? Fine. My father runs the Corleone clan, one of 3 Korean Mafia families controlling the Asian underground economy. I'm his only son, which means I'm either his greatest weapon or his biggest disappointment, depending on the day." His jaw tightened. "He wanted me married to unite our family with another clan. I refused, so he used your father's old debt to force my hand." "So we're both prisoners," Naomi said quietly. "No." Jin's voice dropped. "I'm a killer, Ms. McFly. I've taken 17 lives. I run the enforcement division. I'm the man families call when debts go unpaid, when territories are challenged, when someone needs to disappear." He leaned forward. "You're not a prisoner. You're the only innocent thing that's been allowed in my world in 10 years, and that makes you either my salvation or my greatest weakness." Naomi's heart hammered. "I don't want to be either." Too late. Gin pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. A young man, Devon, tied to a chair, bruised but alive. "Your brother is in a safe house, guarded. The men who want him dead believe he's already been handled. As long as you play your part, he stays breathing." "What part exactly?" "Loving wife. Public appearances. Convince my father and the other families that this marriage is real." Jin's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "In private, you can hate me all you want. I certainly deserve it." There was something in his voice, a crack in the armor. Naomi had spent 3 years in nursing school learning to read pain in people's eyes, and Gin Corleone was drowning in it. "Why do you do it?" she asked. "Kill people, if you hate this life so much." "Because the alternative is watching everyone I love die instead." He stood abruptly. Get some rest. We land in 4 hours. My family will be waiting, and they'll be looking for any weakness to exploit." As he walked toward the back of the plane, Naomi called out, "Jin?" He paused. "That soldier your father mentioned, my dad. Did you ever meet him?" Jin's shoulders tensed. "Once. I was 15. He taught me that some men choose honor even when violence is easier." He glanced back, and his eyes weren't quite so empty anymore. "I think about that conversation every single day." Then he was gone, leaving Naomi alone with the clouds and a terrifying realization. Her husband wasn't just dangerous, he was broken, and broken men were either saved by love or destroyed by it. Which would Jin Corleone be? The Corleone compound in Seoul looked like a palace wrapped in barbed wire. Traditional Korean architecture hiding cutting-edge security systems, guards with assault rifles dressed in designer suits, and gardens so beautiful they made Naomi forget for a moment that she'd entered a gilded cage. Jin's father waited in the grand hall. Mr. Corleone was smaller than Naomi expected, but power radiated from him like heat from asphalt in August. His hair was silver, his suit immaculate, and when he smiled at her, she understood immediately why men feared him. That smile promised both salvation and destruction, depending on his mood. "Naomi McFly," he approached with open arms, speaking perfect English. "Your father saved my life, and now you save my son's honor. Our family is forever in your debt." Debt. Everything in this world came back to debt. "Thank you for this opportunity," Naomi managed, the lie tasting like copper on her tongue. Mr. Corleone took her hands, and his grip was firm but not cruel. "Jin has been alone too long. Cold. Ever since—" He stopped himself, glanced at his son. "Well, that's the past. You are his future now." "Father!" Jin's voice held a warning. "Come." Mr. Corleone ignored him. "Meet the family. Tonight we celebrate." The celebration was a nightmare wrapped in silk and champagne. 300 guests filled the compound's ballroom, mafia bosses, politicians, celebrities, all pretending this wasn't a criminal empire masquerading as high society. Naomi wore a dress that cost more than her car, blood red, Jin had chosen it, and smiled until her face ached. But it was the woman watching from across the room who made Naomi's skin crawl. She was stunning, Korean, mid-20s, with eyes that could cut glass. She wore white like a bride at someone else's wedding, and the way she stared at Jin spoke of ownership, obsession, and rage. "That's Serafina Gambini," Jin murmured, his hand settling on Naomi's lower back as they danced. His touch was electric, unwanted, confusing. "Daughter of the Gambini clan. We were engaged once. Once, until she murdered my younger sister in a jealous rage 3 years ago." Jin's voice was flat, dead. "Claimed it was an accident. My father believed her family's lies to keep the peace. I didn't." Naomi's blood went cold. "And she's here?" "Politics." Jin pulled her closer as the music swelled. "The Gambini family controls the ports. We need them. So I smile and pretend my sister's killer isn't—" The lights exploded. Glass shattered everywhere as bullets ripped through the ballroom. Guests screamed. Jin threw Naomi to the ground, his body covering hers as chaos erupted. "Stay down!" he roared. But Naomi saw it. Serafina across the room, not running, not hiding, smiling, and in her hand, barely visible in the darkness, a phone with a single message on the screen. "Welcome home, Jin. Hope you enjoy your wedding present." More gunfire. Jin dragged Naomi toward an exit, but armed men blocked every door. They wore masks, but their weapons were professional, military grade. "It's a hit," Jin breathed, gun already in his hand. Someone's trying to wipe out the entire leadership. Who? Jin's eyes met hers, and for the first time she saw genuine fear. Someone who knew exactly when we'd all be together. Someone inside our family. An explosion rocked the East Wing, and Jin Corleone realized that marrying Naomi hadn't just saved her brother's life. It had painted a target on her back the size of Seoul. The safe house was a concrete bunker disguised as an abandoned warehouse in Busan, 3 hours from Seoul. Naomi's ears still rang from the explosions. Her red dress was torn, stained with blood, not hers, but she'd watched 3 men die tonight. Jin paced like a caged animal, phone pressed to his ear, barking orders in rapid Korean. His shirt was ripped, revealing scars across his ribs, old wounds, stories written in violence on his skin. 12 people had died in the attack. Jin's father survived. Barely. "Your father," Naomi started, "is in surgery." Jin's voice was razor-sharp. "They hit him twice, chest and abdomen. The doctors say 50-50. "I'm so sorry." "Don't." He whirled on her. "Don't apologize. This is my world, Naomi. This is what I tried to warn you about. You didn't warn me someone would try to kill everyone at our wedding." Jin laughed bitterly. "Welcome to the Corleone family." He collapsed onto a metal chair, and suddenly he didn't look like a Mafia enforcer anymore. He looked like a man drowning, desperate for air. Naomi should have stayed across the room, should have maintained distance. Instead, she found herself kneeling in front of him, her hands on his knees. "Tell me about your sister," she said softly. Jin's jaw clenched. "Why?" "Because you're carrying her death like a weight around your neck, and if we're going to survive this, I need to understand who you are." For a long moment, Jin said nothing. Then, "Her name was Minji. She was 17, brilliant, wanted to be a doctor." His voice cracked. "Serafina found out Minji had encouraged me to break our engagement, so she staged a car accident, made it look like drunk driving. My father believed the Gambini family's story because he needed to believe it. The alliance was too important. But you knew the truth. I found Serafina's burner phone, read the messages to her hired killer." Jin's hands fisted. "I took those messages to my father. He called me paranoid, chose politics over justice. That's when I became what I am now. His weapon, nothing more." Naomi's heart broke for this beautiful, damaged man. "Jin!" The door burst open. A woman stormed in, 30-something, sharp suit, sharper eyes. She looked at Naomi like she was a particularly annoying insect. "Jin, we need to talk, privately." "Naomi, this is Diana Ripley, my second-in-command." Jin stood, putting himself between them. "Diana, my wife stays." Diana's smile was poison. "Your arrangement, you mean? Don't insult my intelligence. I've been by your side for 8 years, Jin. I know this marriage is fake." "It's real enough," Jin said coldly. "Is it?" Diana pulled out a tablet, showed them security footage. "Because Serafina Gambini just went public claiming she's pregnant with your child. Says you two have been secretly together for months. The families are demanding answers." Naomi's stomach dropped. Jin's face went white. "That's impossible. I haven't touched her since—" "Since when?" Diana's eyes were ice. "Since your sister died? Because the timeline she's claiming says otherwise." "She's lying." "Maybe." Diana's gaze shifted to Naomi. "Or maybe your new bride should know that in this world, truth doesn't matter. Only what people believe." Jin grabbed Diana's arm. "Find out who's backing Serafina's play. Now." As Diana left, Jin turned to Naomi, and the vulnerability in his eyes terrified her more than the bullets had. "I need you to believe me," he whispered. "That baby isn't mine." And Naomi realized something devastating. She wanted to believe him, which meant she was already starting to care. The DNA results came back 72 hours later. Jin stood in the safe house, staring at the paper in his hands like it was a death sentence. Naomi watched his face drain of color, watched his fingers tremble. This man who'd faced armed assassins without flinching was being destroyed by a single document. "It's mine," he whispered. "The test says it's mine." Naomi's world tilted. "But you said—" "I know what I said." Jin's roar shook the walls. He hurled the paper across the room. "I haven't been with Serafina in 3 years. This is impossible." Diana entered, her expression unreadable. "There's more. Serafina's threatening to go to the Council of Families. She's demanding you divorce Naomi and honor your original engagement, or she'll testify that you knew about the wedding attack in advance." "That's insane." "Is it?" Diana's voice was ice. "Your father's still unconscious. You conveniently survived without a scratch. And now there's evidence you've been intimate with the daughter of our strongest ally. The families are asking questions, Jin." Naomi felt sick. This was chess played with human lives, and she was a pawn being sacrificed. "We need to leave," Jin said suddenly, grabbing Naomi's arm. "Tonight. Disappear until—" "Until what?" Diana blocked the door. "Until the families declare you a traitor and put a bounty on both your heads?" Jin's phone buzzed. He answered, listened, then his face went absolutely still. "What?" Naomi demanded. "My father's awake." Jin's voice was hollow. "He wants to see me. Now." The hospital room smelled like disinfectant and dying flowers. Mr. Corleone looked small in the bed, tubes and wires connecting him to machines that beeped a steady rhythm of survival. But his eyes were sharp as ever. "My son," he rasped. "Come closer." Jin approached. Naomi stayed by the door, but she could hear everything. "Father, the baby, it's a lie. Someone's setting me up." "I know." Mr. Corleone's words stopped Jin cold. "Because I had a vasectomy performed on you 10 years ago." The world stopped spinning. "What?" Jin's voice broke. "After your mother died giving birth to Minji, I swore no Corleone would suffer that loss again." Mr. Corleone's smile was sad. "I had the procedure done while you recovered from a gunshot wound. You were unconscious for days. I made sure you'd never know." Jin staggered backward. You sterilized me without consent?" "To protect you, to protect our line from the curse of loving too deeply." Mr. Corleone's hand trembled. "But now someone knows our secret, someone who has access to our medical records, someone who's using it to destroy you." "Who?" Mr. Corleone's gaze shifted to the door, to where Diana stood just outside, talking on her phone, unaware they could see her reflection in the window. "The only person who's had complete access to our family's private files for 8 years," Mr. Corleone whispered. "Your most trusted advisor." Jin's face contorted with betrayal. "Diana?" "She's been working with the Gambini family since Minji died. Serafina promised her leadership of the Korean operations once you were eliminated." Mr. Corleone coughed blood. "The wedding attack, Diana fed them the security codes. The fake pregnancy, she falsified your DNA records." "But why tell Serafina to claim pregnancy if she knew I couldn't—" "Because," Naomi said, suddenly understanding, her voice cutting through the shock, "if the lie is exposed, you look like you've been lying about everything. including your innocence in the attack. Mr. Corleone nodded weakly. My son, the woman you've trusted for 8 years has been planning your execution, and your marriage to Naomi. His eyes found hers, filled with ancient grief. Was the only thing unpredictable enough to delay her plans. Jin's phone buzzed again. A message from Diana. Mr. Corleone's doctors say he's critical. Come say goodbye. Bring Naomi. The families want to pay respects. Jin showed his father the screen. Mr. Corleone smiled grimly. It's a trap. She's gathered them all. She'll kill you both. Blame it on Gambini revenge and take control in the chaos. Then we run, Naomi said. No. Jin's voice was pure steel now, all vulnerability burned away. We end this. But could they stop a traitor who'd spent 8 years planning the perfect betrayal? The Council of Families met in a temple older than Seoul itself, neutral ground where blood couldn't be spilled without invoking a war that would destroy them all. Or so the rules claimed. Jin and Naomi arrived at midnight. 17 family heads sat in a circle, their faces carved from stone and suspicion. Serafina stood beside Diana, her hand resting on her flat stomach, playing the victim perfectly. Jin Corleone, the eldest, Master Tanaka, spoke first. You stand accused of conspiracy, murder, and dishonoring your engagement to Serafina Gambini. How do you answer? Not guilty. Jin's voice was steady, but Naomi felt him trembling beside her. I'm being framed by your wife? Diana stepped forward, her face a mask of concern. Jin, I know this is hard, but we found Naomi's bank records. Someone wired her $2 million the day before the wedding attack. Naomi's blood turned to ice. That's a lie. Is it? Diana projected an image on the screen, a bank account in Naomi's name, transactions highlighted in red. The money came from a Gambini shell company. You were paid to marry Jin, get close to his father, and provide security access for the hit. No! Naomi lunged forward, but guards grabbed her. I never... Jin, you have to believe me. But Jin's face had gone blank, unreadable. The shutters falling over his eyes, the walls rebuilding. Jin, she pleaded, please, your father told you the truth. Diana is... My father is heavily medicated, Diana said smoothly. Paranoid. Seeing conspiracies where there are none. Jin, look at the evidence. Your wife was bought by our enemies. The families murmured. Master Tanaka raised his hand. Naomi McFly, you will be detained pending investigation. Jin Corleone, you will submit to family jurisdiction. Your marriage is declared fraudulent. No. Jin's voice was barely a whisper. No? Diana's smile was triumphant. Jin, it's over. Accept it. I said no. Jin moved with blinding speed, gun drawn, barrel pressed against Diana's temple. You forged those records, just like you forged the DNA results, just like you've been forging your loyalty for 8 years. The room exploded with drawn weapons. 30 guns aimed at Jin's head. Jin, don't be stupid, Diana said calmly. Kill me, and you're dead before I hit the ground. Is she worth that? Jin's eyes met Naomi's across the room, and in that moment she saw everything. The broken boy who'd lost his sister, the killer who'd lost his soul, the man who'd just found something worth dying for. Yes, he said simply. Then you're a fool. Diana's hand moved faster than thought, a blade appearing from her sleeve, slicing across Jin's forearm. His gun clattered away. Guards seized him, dragged him to his knees. Master Tanaka stood. Jin Corleone, you are stripped of rank and protection. Naomi McFly, you are sentenced to death for conspiracy, both sentences to be carried out at dawn. Wait! Seraphina's voice rang out, and her smile was pure venom. "Let me have the girl first. I want her to understand what happens to women who touch what's mine." They tore Naomi away from Jin. She screamed his name, fought like a demon, but there were too many hands, too much strength. The last thing she saw was Jin, bleeding, broken, mouthing 3 words: "I'll find you." Then darkness swallowed her whole, and in a cell beneath the temple, Naomi realized the terrible truth. Love had made them vulnerable, and vulnerability in this world meant death. The cell smelled like blood and forgotten prayers. Naomi's wrists were bound, her body aching from where Seraphina's guards had thrown her against the stone wall. Above her, she could hear footsteps, voices, the families preparing for her execution at sunrise. 3 hours left. The door creaked open. Naomi's heart seized, expecting Seraphina's torture to begin. Instead, Mr. Corleone limped in, hospital gown beneath a long coat, IV pole in one hand, gun in the other. "Can you walk?" he asked. "How? You should be—" "Dying?" He smiled grimly. "I've been dying for 20 years. Today I choose to do it on my feet." He cut her restraints. "My son loves you. I see it in his eyes, the same way I loved his mother, and I'll be damned if I let Diana destroy another person I care about. Where's Jin? Creating a diversion." Mr. Cho, Corleone led her through a hidden passage, ancient stone walls closing in around them. "There's something you need to know. Your father, the soldier who saved me, he didn't die in a random drive-by." Naomi stopped. "What?" "Diana's family killed him. Your father discovered evidence of their trafficking operations when he returned from Korea. They silenced him, made it look like gang violence." Mr. Corleone's eyes were filled with ancient guilt. "I owed him a debt. When your brother's situation arose, I saw a chance to finally pay it, to protect his daughter the way I failed to protect him." Tears burned Naomi's eyes. "All this time was meant to save you, but Diana turned my protection into a trap." He pressed a phone into her hands. "Jin left you a message, recorded before they took him." Naomi's fingers shook as she pressed play. Jin's face appeared, bruised, bloodied, but his eyes, God, his eyes were alive for the first time. "Naomi, if you're seeing this, I'm probably dead. Good. I deserve it for dragging you into this hell." He smiled, broken and beautiful. "But I need you to know something. These past weeks with you, learning your strength, your compassion, watching you face this nightmare with more courage than I've shown in 10 years, you reminded me what it feels like to be human, to want something beyond survival." His voice cracked. "I love you. I don't know when it happened. Maybe the moment you signed that marriage certificate and trusted me, despite every reason not to. Maybe when you held me in that safe house and saw past the killer to the man underneath. But I love you, Naomi McFly, and I'm going to make sure you get out of here, even if—" Explosions rocked the temple above. Gunfire erupted like thunder. Mr. Corleone grabbed her arm. "That's our cue. Jin's attacking the main hall with the loyalists who believe our story. We have maybe 5 minutes before Diana's forces overwhelm them. I'm not leaving without him." "You won't have to." Mr. Corleone's smile was fierce. "Because my son doesn't know how to quit, especially not when he's finally found something worth fighting for." They burst into the temple's main hall, and Naomi's breath stopped. Jin stood in the center of carnage, surrounded by enemies, but he wasn't alone. Devon, her brother, fought beside him, along with 20 men bearing the Corleone clan symbol. "You came for me," Devon shouted over the gunfire. "Jin freed me, said his wife needed backup." Jin's eyes found Naomi's across the chaos. And in that moment she understood. He hadn't just married her to save her brother. He'd become the man willing to burn his whole world down to save her. Diana stood on the temple balcony, Serafina beside her, watching the battle below with cold calculation. Behind them, 30 elite guards formed an impenetrable wall. "It's over, Jin," Diana called down. "You can't win. Surrender and I'll make her death quick." "Counter-offer," Jin shouted back, blood streaming down his face. "You confess everything, and I let you live long enough to stand trial." Diana laughed. "You're outnumbered 3-1. "Am I?" The temple doors exploded inward. 50 federal agents poured in, led by a woman in a prosecutor's suit, Master Tanaka's daughter. "Diana Ripley," she announced, "you're under arrest for conspiracy, murder, and treason against the Republic of Korea." Diana's face went white. "What? Jin came to me 3 days ago," the prosecutor continued. "Brought evidence of your trafficking operations, falsified records, everything. We've been building a case while you were busy staging your coup. You can't prove—" "Actually," Mr. Corleone stepped forward, holding a recording device, "we can. Your confession in the hospital room, when you thought my morphine had made me unconscious?" He smiled coldly. "I heard every word, and I recorded it all." Serafina bolted, but Devon was faster, tackling her before she reached the exit. "That's for trying to kill my sister," he growled. Diana's guards dropped their weapons as federal agents surrounded them. The families who'd condemned Jin hours ago now watched in stunned silence as their conspiracy unraveled. "You destroyed everything," Diana screamed at Jin. "I gave you 8 years. I protected you, guided you, loved you." "You loved power," Jin said quietly. "Not me. Never me." "I loved you more than she ever could," Diana pointed at Naomi. "That woman is nothing. A debt, a transaction." "She's my wife." Jin's voice was steel. "And she's worth more than this entire rotten empire." Diana lunged, a hidden knife flashing toward Jin's throat. Naomi moved without thinking, her nursing training kicking in. She grabbed Diana's wrist, twisted, and the blade clattered away. Diana swung wildly, but Naomi ducked, then delivered a perfect uppercut she'd learned in self-defense classes back in Detroit. Diana crumpled. The temple went silent. Jin stared at Naomi, awe and love and disbelief warring on his face. "Did you just knock out your psychotic second-in-command?" Naomi's hands shook with adrenaline. Yeah, I did." Devon whooped. Mr. Corleone laughed. Actually laughed, the sound rusty but genuine. Master Tanaka stood, addressing the assembled families. "The evidence is clear. Diana Ripley orchestrated the attack on the Corleone family, falsified Jin's DNA records, and murdered 17 people to seize power." His gaze swept the room. "Jin Corleone is innocent. His marriage to Naomi McFly stands, and any family who challenges this will answer to the full council." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Federal agents dragged Diana and Serafina away, their screams of protest fading into the night. Jin crossed the room to Naomi in 3 strides, cupped her face in his bloodied hands. "You saved me," he whispered. "No," Naomi said, tears streaming down her face. "We saved each other." And when he kissed her, desperate, grateful, real, Naomi tasted freedom for the first time since signing that marriage certificate. Because sometimes the greatest victory isn't surviving the war, it's finding someone worth fighting for. 6 months later, Naomi stood in the garden of the Corleone compound, but everything had changed. The barbed wire was gone. The guards still existed, but they smiled now, greeted her by name. Mr. Corleone had stepped down, putting Jin in charge, not as an enforcer, but as a reformer. The family was transitioning from criminal empire to legitimate business, slowly, carefully, but genuinely. It was messy, it was dangerous, but it was real. Dr. McFly, Jin's voice made her turn. She'd returned to medical school, Seoul National University this time, top of her class. Jin had insisted, even paid her tuition, though she'd fought him on it until they compromised. She'd accept it as an investment, pay him back when she graduated. "Not a doctor yet," she reminded him, but she was smiling. Jin crossed the garden, and God, he was beautiful in the sunlight, scars and all. He'd started therapy, was learning to process Minji's death, his father's betrayal, the years of violence. It was slow work, hard work, but he was trying. "Devon called," Jin said, wrapping his arms around her waist. "He's finishing his business degree. Says to tell you he's dating someone. A nice girl, not a mobster." Naomi laughed. Progress. Serafina pled guilty to avoid the death penalty. 25 years minimum. Jin's voice was neutral, but Naomi felt him tense. "Diana got life without parole. Do you miss her? The woman you thought she was?" "No." Jin kissed her temple. "I miss who I thought I was before her betrayal. But then I remember that version of me never would have fallen in love with you. Smooth talker. I learned from the best." He turned her to face him, and his eyes, those eyes that had been so empty months ago, were full of light now. "I have something for you." He pulled out an envelope. Inside was a deed to a small clinic in Seoul's poorest district. "Jin, this is yours. Well, ours. I thought, after you graduate, you could run it, help people who can't afford care. And I could—" He hesitated, vulnerable in a way that still surprised her. "I could help. Security, funding, whatever you need, if you'll have me." Naomi's throat tightened. "You want to build something good together?" "I want to build everything together." Jin pulled out a second box. Velvet, small. "I know we're already married, but that was a transaction, a debt. This time I'm asking, really asking, Naomi McFly, will you marry me? Again? For real?" The ring was simple, perfect, a diamond surrounded by emeralds, her birthstone. "On one condition," Naomi said, tears streaming. "Anything. You promise to keep becoming the man I fell in love with, not the killer, not the prince, just Jin. I promise." His voice broke. "Every single day I promise." She kissed him, tasting salt and hope and futures yet unwritten. Devon arrived for dinner that night with his girlfriend. Mr. Corleone, healthier now, told embarrassing stories about Jin's childhood. They laughed until their sides hurt, ate until they couldn't move, and for the first time in any of their lives, the Corleone compound felt like a home. Later, as Naomi and Jin stood on their balcony watching Seoul's lights, she thought about the gun pressed to her temple months ago, the marriage certificate, the terror. "Do you regret it?" Jin asked, reading her mind like he always did now. "Everything that happened?" Naomi thought about her father's debt finally paid, about Devon, safe and thriving, about Jin, broken but healing in her arms, about the clinic they'd build, the lives they'd save, the love they'd fought for. "Not for a second," she whispered. And when Jin pulled her close, Naomi understood the truth. Some debts aren't paid with blood or money. Some debts are paid with second chances, with forgiveness, with love brave enough to transform monsters into men and strangers into soulmates.